now the case, the hard copy of the case that TA gave to you, is our second case, right? MD Solutions. Okay, this is a case a little bit related to retention. Okay, that's about the work from home. Okay, it's also quite interesting because under some circumstances in this company, they have a employee, he's quite talented, yeah, but then he has some special family issues. So then, well, he requests to work from home instead of, you know, coming to the office to work regularly, right? So, well, it's a little bit hard decision to make by the supervisor because it also has to be fair to all the staff, in the company. Yeah, and of course, it's also a little bit the topic related to managing the employee then, right? So, yeah, and then there are some questions to discuss, to analyze for it. It's on the last page, okay? Feel free to check for that. The case itself is not that long, it's quite short, and it's quite interesting then. Yeah, so you feel free to check for that, and yeah, then if you like, you can also conduct this personal assignment then. Right, so let's move on to our topic 6. Okay, it's also related to recruitment and selection. Okay, interviewing candidates. Okay, who had has ever had the interviewing experience here? Please raise your hand.
Interviewing people?
No, as a interviewee. Yeah, as an interviewee. Yeah, quite many. As an interviewer. Yeah, good. Yeah, and as an interviewee, did you have good experience from those the interview experience that you had? Good. Yeah. Generally speaking, it was good. Yeah. And how about as an interviewer? Yeah. Also, yeah. Good experience. Or you have any special case that you have ever interviewed with? Maybe, yeah. Would you like to, yeah, or kind of, did you really prepare for the interview question before your interview? Yeah. And do you kind of, identify different questions for different, for example, different job positions? Yeah. Ready to go for the interview? Yeah. And did you make the interviewee feel comfortable or a little bit nervous? Did you ask harsh questions? Not really? Eva? No?
I was one of the interviewing people there in the company.
Yeah.
There were other
interviewers, yeah,
depending on the level.
Yeah.
We were on our position. They were hiring managers interviewing as a next step. So I was something like a first contact.
Yeah.
I acted as a first contact for the person who came for the interview. And,
were you nice to them?
And yeah, actually I also did the pre-selection, like the first selection,
Yeah.
because all the CVs were sent to my email.
Yeah.
And I had to make the first pre-selection
Uh-huh.
and only meet for the first time for those candidates that I chose.
Yeah.
And then selected only a few of them who went further on to be interviewed by my supervisor.
Okay.
So I think it was quite a big responsibility on my shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because actually during the job interview, sometimes there's some interviewer, they might a little bit give you a little bit harsh questions. Actually, in after chapter case later, if we have time, you can also check a little bit. Yeah, because we have different type of interviewer, but actually we don't know like what's their purpose because there are some job position, maybe they need this candidates or this future employee, they could work under stress then. So then for the interviewer, they want to test for this candidates. Yeah, so then they might, try to give them a little bit rude questions, like kind of purposefully. Yeah, so then of course then there are some interviewee, they have no idea about it, and then of course then they don't feel that good then. And for the interviewer, their attitude and then the way they or their attitude they show in the in the interview process sometimes also influence the interviewee later. Either they gonna select your company or not, because it's not just only for the the company side. They're gonna have several candidates as an employee, as a candidate. Well, you also apply for different company, different job positions, right? Yeah, later you might gonna have several different offers. Yeah, so then at that time, well, if there are some factors also influence these candidates to pick your company to work for it. Yeah, either they want to pick your company or not. Okay, so that is also the issue. It's related to in our reading too. All right. Yeah. So for example, the interviewer, do they show their friendliness or not? Right. Okay. Here, interview candidates in this topic, of course, we're also going to talk about some issue are more important, as the interviewer. Okay, because so I'm sure all of you here in the future, you're also going to have this opportunity to interview the candidates. But of course, at the beginning, you're going to start, from being the candidates first. All right, interviewing candidates. Here, first question that I would like to address for would be, why does the company need to conduct the interview in the recruiting process? Can someone tell me? You can use your wise guess.
To know the competencies of the employees.
To know the competencies, but why not just from the different tests? Yeah.
Okay. Because people lie on their resume and they can cheat on the tests. So if they are honest, they will speak truthfully. And I think people will understand more about the people when they talk more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Others? Yeah.
I think direct observation is much better than like indirect observation because when company do the interview, they want to know about the knowledge about the behavior directly from the interview. So that's why company is conducting the interview to know better.
To know better about
the interview.
observe this candidate's
Yeah, because
performance.
direct observation is, I think it's much better than indirect observation. I mean from the resume, it's same with seat, but I put more about the direct observations. Like the interviewer can directly see how the interview behavior, how the interview react to their questions, how they can make the eye contact and everything. So that's why they do conduct the interview.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, that's also good.
I want to add in on what you say. I think the first impression matters. So the face-to-face interview is important because then you will get to know the true character of your interviewee. You'll be able to tell from speaking to that person, you can learn more about that person, and you can with the body language as well, you can be able to identify if this candidate is perfect for the job or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. let's check for the students who have this interview experience. Eva, what do you think? Yeah, why do you need to conduct the interview? What's the purpose?
For the company I was working, it was also important that we check their language ability, for example. Something in particular. So we had to conduct the interview also because of this.
Please introduce yourself by French.
Yes. Exactly. So there was one particular point why we had to conduct the interview. Although, of course, all of the points that was made.
Okay, so we kind of verify their capability then, yeah? And you?
Well, I think interview is not just a part of talking. The interview started from the candidate coming into the company. Even we are waiting in the reception or waiting in the room for the interviewer. So some interviewer just deliberately come in late and they can wait for like an hour. So the observer how you react to that, maybe really blame or show that you're impatient. How your behavior is also part of the interview as well.
Pre-interview behavior.
Yeah. That's why they want to conduct an interview. Before and after is also the same. Because during the interview process, just like the other said, they can observe you, like eye contact, your facial expression, and how confident you are, how fluent you can speak the language, and also if you're prepared. Like if you have any questions about this company or what you care about from your questions. Like some people will ask, what's the benefit? Can I get off the work on time? What if I don't want to work overtime? So from these questions, the candidate whether he or she is suitable for your company.
That's a little bit more interaction, face to face. Yeah, and you also mentioned about like you had some interview experience, being as an interviewer. Yeah, why do you think that we need the interview?
Because in my company, it's like we want to ask something that is related to our business. So yeah, I just want to know what they say and what they think about it. Like that. So I just want to know better.
Yeah. Through interview, why cannot get it from the test?
No, because it's just related to the thinking, the way of their thinking.
Okay. Actually, why conduct the interview? It's whatever you mentioned are quite accurate. Yeah, but in the main points, of course, your selection procedure is to predict your future job performance. By what? By the applicants, what? Oral responses. Right? By the orally response. Because sometimes, as we mentioned, like last week also mentioned about this so-called situational questions. You give the candidates a hypothetical question, of course, and then during the interviewing process, during the test, you can also think, for a little bit. But during the interviewing process, can you tell the interviewer that, wait a second, give me 2 minutes, let me think about it. Can you do that? No. All right? Your orally response, So then, generally for the company, they assume that through this orally response, they can identify these candidates' future job performance. Of course, via different type of questions, right? So that is the purpose of the interview, right? So then generally, like we identify this candidate's behavior, from at the beginning, pre-interview, So then, it's very important. Like for example, when you just walk into the company, the reception, you also have to be polite to them because those could be also some kind of, we call it as a potential interviewer. If you are rude to them, well then, of course, they will pass the message to the interviewer. Then you might, because of your rude attitude to to the reception, so then you lose this job offer. That's also possible, right? Yeah, so then for the job interview, if you got this process, then congratulations. One more step, okay? Then you might gonna have the opportunity to get this job offer. Okay, job interview tips here. This is a short video. I would like to show you how to prepare for it. Okay, it's I think it's also quite useful for whatever the content itself has been expressed. Okay, just this presenter here is a little bit. Yeah, exaggerate a little bit. It's,
Congratulations, you've got an interview. The good news is that you already know how to dress and what to wear, because we already talked about that. If you missed that video, it's listed and linked in the description. It's an oldie, but good advice never goes out of style. You've done the work, you've secured the interview, you are dressed to kill. But before you run off to go to that interview, we need to talk, because it is still possible to jack things up if you don't know what you're doing, even if you're super qualified. So today, gentlemen, we're going over 10 tips to crush an interview. Please note, I am not going to justify be on time with a tip. If you're that much of a moron to be late, you don't deserve the job in the first place. Tip number 1 is conduct research prior to going to the interview. Now, I'm not talking about knowing what the company does. You probably did that prior to actually applying. I'm talking...
Conduct research about what?
Company does.
About what?
Company does.
Of course, about the company, all right? The company, you can search for it, by their, from their website, or search for the industry, right? That is important.
Getting granular, get more into it, dive into Google, dive into their website, figure out this company so that when you go in, you're ready to talk shop. And if you know who you're actually going to be interviewing with in terms of like the person's name, do research on them, which is tip number 2. All right, you're not always going to know, but a lot of times they're going to tell you you're going to be meeting with X. He is or she is, whatever. All right, do research on them. LinkedIn is a beautiful thing. It's an amazing resource to get a lot of info on a lot of people. Have the information in the back of your head, all right? And if you can use any of it in the general flow of conversation, do it. But don't go in there and like, so, your husband Rick looks fantastic after the nose job, and Jack and Jimmy are 2 boys. My God! You will look like a super stalker, and this is counterproductive to actually getting a job. Tip number 3 is review the 150 most common interview questions. There is a list out there of questions that get asked pretty much in every interview, and they've compiled this list. It's listed and linked in the description if you want to check it out. Go through it. Think about your answers. All right, you don't need to memorize the questions, but it's a good idea to have an idea of what they're going to ask and how you're going to respond. Because if they shock you with, why are you looking for a new job? And you are dumbfounded like, that whole sexual harassment thing kind of killed me. Ooh, I feel the butterflies. They're coming because you're getting close. The day has arrived. It's time to go to the interview. All right, tip number 4 is all about making friends. When you walk into the establishment, I need you to be super charming to everybody. The receptionist, anybody who's walking through that office, even other people, if they're there actually for the same job you are. You're talking, you're engaging, you're asking questions, you're smiling, you're being friendly, because you never know who you're talking to, and you never know if the receptionist has the ear of the person that's actually hiring you. All right, so you're in the room and the interview is underway. You need to make sure that you remember tip number 5, which is keep your answers short but concise. Not like 1 word or 2 words, but elaborate as much as you need to get your point across. Don't ramble, because rambling will lead you down areas that you don't need to go. Keep it concise, keep it consistent. Tip number 6 is all about utilizing body language in order to make a great impression. This involves eye contact, the way you sit, your posture, the way you stand, the way you walk into a room. Gentlemen, I have done a ton of videos talking about all of those things. They're also listed and linked in the description. Tip number 7 is also about preparation. I would recommend bringing some type of nice portfolio to keep your resume, business cards, and a notebook. And in this notebook or on this sheet of paper, you're going to have already written out some predetermined questions that you're going to be prepared to ask the interviewer, which is actually tip number 8. Have a list of questions that you are going to ask. In most interviews, the interviewer is going to ask you at some point, hey, what questions do you have for me? And if you're like, none, all right, it means that you really haven't thought about things. All right, by having a list of questions that you're prepared to ask shows that you're detail-oriented and you're interested in that job. Tip number 9 is all about selling yourself. This is your opportunity to shine. This is not an opportunity to be super modest, but you have to be delicate in the sense that you don't want to look like you're bragging like, yeah, I'm the best of that. Oh yeah, nobody can touch me. But you can be confident and deliver yourself in a positive, proactive way and not look like an arrogant ass, all right? But this is not the time to be like, well, I'm not that good. No, Jack, take the Alpha M approach to self-marketing. Promote, promote, promote. At least that's what I do. And tip number 10, before you walk out of that office, you let them know that you are the man for the job and that you're interested in the job, that you want the job. Let them know that you're excited and hope to be a part of what they have going on or that specific organization. Before you leave, you get up, you put your hand out, and you shake that hand like a man, even if you're shaking a woman, all right? Don't be all like, right? You don't need to kiss it, you need to shake it. If you missed the video that I did talk, wait a second, there's a ton of videos I'm mentioning. All right, all the videos that I mentioned and talked about are listed and linked in the description. All right, guys, here's the good news. You've got an interview. Now you have the tools that you need in order to crush it. Congratulations. Good luck, but you got this.
Okay, got it? What's the second one? I missed that part. Anyone remember?
Research on the interviewer.
Huh?
Research on the interviewer.
Oh, research on the interviewer, yeah. Right, so these are the 10 tips. Yeah, I think these tips are quite useful, especially for the number 8. This is the one, I would also like to emphasize it. Yeah, before when you have this interview experience, did you, towards the end of the interviewing process, generally the interviewer, they will ask you, do you have any questions for us? Do you ask questions for them? Or you stay quiet more often? Yeah, should you ask questions? Of course, that shows your interest. But the questions itself, it's not that old question that you can ask, right? Sometimes if you ask for the wrong question, then you ruin the whole interviewing process. Okay, so later we will talk about that then. Yeah, all right. So these tips, yeah, be sure that you put those in your mind, right? So for the interview, there are 3 main important components, okay, are very important, okay? So the first one, structure, second one, the question, and the third one, administration, okay? Of course, either for the interviewer or for the interviewee, you also have to be familiar with all this. Structure indicates that how structured, the whole interviewing process it is, right? The question indicates the content. Okay, the content for the interview. Okay, and administration, how the firm administer the interview. Yeah, have you ever been to this interviewing process? Like you have several candidates as well as several interviewers. Yeah, have you ever been in this into this kind of interviewing process? No. We call it as mass interview. I think most often, the interviewing process has been used. It's the one-on-one, right? Yeah. And then there's also some sort of interviewing process. Okay, the administration is also quite popular, which indicates there are several interviewers. But how many candidates in there? How many interviewees? Just one. Okay, we call it as panel interview. We'll talk about that later. Okay, let's start from the structure. Okay, structure indicates, it has two different types. One is non-structure. Okay, another one is structure. Which one do you think is better? Is more effective?
Structure.
Of course, structure. All right, structure is one. The right-hand side is one. Indicates that you prepare the questions for the interviewee in advance. So then that make the whole, interviewing process more structured. But have you ever been to this kind of interviews, like kind of, generally it will be, with this more kind of top managerial level, like the CEO, and then they ask you the questions that you feel like, it's a little bit beyond your expectation then. Yeah, they might ask you some questions. It's could be come across their mind. It's maybe nothing related to your expertise, etc. Yeah. So then that is called as a non-structured question. Yeah. Generally, for the like the CEO, the top executive level. Yeah, generally the way they use would be more toward to which one? Structure? Non-structure. Will be more toward to non-structure. Yeah, because for most of the companies, for them to select their employee, they will have a different interviewing process. At the beginning, for the level that you interview with could be from the HR department, HR manager, or this department's manager. And after that, if you pass, then the next step will be you might gonna have the interview with the kind of the top executive level. So then, for them, you have no idea, what kind of question they would ask. Will be more toward to this non-structure. Okay, so then it indicates that the questions, whatever comes across their mind, they might just ask. Yeah, okay. So this is a type of different the question style. All right, sample structure question. Such as an interviewer, right? You want to know about these candidates, their co-work relations or their teamwork. Okay, the attitude toward to this teamwork or not. Right? So then you will have this different questions over here, and of course over here it also has this key indicator. So then as an interviewer, you also, for each interviewer, especially earlier we mentioned about this panel interview, you're gonna have different interviewer. So then your perception about this interviewee, are they good or not? It will be more similar because you provide the indicator. Okay, so for example, the questions will be such as, describe your relationship with coworkers on the past job, and you can give the example. So then it has this different indicator over here, right? So then for interviewer, they also have some indicator to follow, right? So here you can make some notes and comments, right? So this is a sample then. Then the second one, yep.
I want to ask, do you think it's effective to mix both non-structured and structured interview, like during an interviewing process? Like, let's say if you want to ask follow-up questions or maybe something else apart from what you have on the introduction has come to your mind and you want to ask. Do you think it's effective?
I would say like for some certain level, for example, if like kind of during this panel interview, because there are several different interviewer, in there. Yeah, but then for you to, for those different interviewer, the questions for them to ask actually has better to be more consistent. Yeah, the reason would be because you're gonna have different interviewee, different candidates. That indicates the questions for all interviewer to ask for the interviewee, it will be the same. That's under, it's more, yeah, it's kind of standardized. All right, so then that would be, under this, all this different standard, then you choose whichever candidates, okay, they have better performance. Like if you mix up with some kind of, as you mentioned, unstructured questions, that indicates the questions itself won't be standardized. I don't think like in that process that is appropriate. Yeah, so that's what why I mentioned, because actually towards to the end of the process of the interview, to go for this top managerial level, for example, the CEO, it can, it would be better for them, it's okay for them to use this non-structured question because it might be the, kind of for the CEO, they just verify, for the final process only. Yeah, it's nothing related to their, kind of qualification. Yeah, so I would say like, it would be better to keep the structured question. For example, HR manager or the, that department head, they, for them, during this, at the beginning or in the second interview, first or second interview, for example, if you have 3 different interviews, for the preliminary interviewing process, it's better to use the structured one. Yeah, okay, all right. Yep, that is a good question. Okay, then the following one, okay, different type of question, okay, for you to use during the interviewing process. First one, okay, situational interview. I think this one we mentioned about it last week. Okay, it indicates that you ask the question as more hypothetical questions. That indicates you give the candidates some certain scenario. Okay, so then you want to know what will be their reactions. Okay, based on the, the questions that you address. You can project what his or her behavior would be in a given situation. Okay, such as, the questions over here. If you are the supervisor of a firm, how would you act in response to a subordinate coming to work late for 5 working days consecutively? Right, so it's that job position, that is the manager's job position. Yeah, so then, well, how would you handle with the problem like this? And of course, then based on your perception, your,